One of the strangest things about modern life is that nothing seems to have an end. The noise is always going, the lights are always on. For thousands of years, humans lived inside what I call an ancient rhythm. Not a perfect world, not a peaceful world, just a world where things had a place and a time. You'd sit, you'd lay, you'd hunt, you'd play, you'd walk, you'd yell, you'd enjoy the silence. Most of that didn't really need regulation. Not because people were better at regulating themselves, because life itself was doing more of it. Life had edges. A hunt was a hunt, a fire was a fire, a walk was a walk, rest was rest, and silence was silence. You'd have space before another thing began. There was more completion built into life. You used energy, and then the world went quiet again. You paid attention, and there was nothing to attend to. You'd move, and then you'd stop moving. All things had a place and time. Now most things live too close together. Rest comes with stimulation. Silence comes with something playing in the background. Thoughts come with interruption, and connection comes with some sort of performance. Even boredom gets filled before it has time to become anything. So, life can start to feel crowded, even when nothing is wrong. Not overwhelming exactly, just full. Like there's never quite a gap. Too much input, too many words, too much arriving before the last thing has a chance to actually land. And what makes it hard to notice is that things are fine most of the time. They're interesting even, which is exactly why it slips past us. We keep thinking the issue is that we're bad at handling stimulation. I don't think that's quite it. I think we're living inside more of it than we're built for. We're living without the older sequence that used to organize it. Not everything used to happen at once. Now it does. And when everything starts bleeding into everything else, people start trying to understand themselves through labels. Introvert, extrovert, sensitive, shy, social, avoidant, outgoing. Some of those labels, they can point to something real. But most of the time, what gets called personality now may actually be just adaptation to an environment. Some people regulate better inside stimulation and they come alive there, they steady there. Others regulate between the stimulation. Intensity is fine, even enjoyable, but only for a while. There needs to be an off ramp, some silence, some space, some time where nothing is being asked of them. In a different world, that difference may not have meant much, but in this one, it gets turned into identity, and the culture leans hard in one direction. Not always because it's better, because it's just more visible. It fits the pace of the world better. It looks more like confidence, more like health, more like success. So people who want more alone time, more silence, more distance between things, get told something is wrong. That they should be more outward, more social, more available, more on all the time. It rarely goes the other way around. People rarely tell the extroverted person to be quieter, to get more still, or to stop performing life so much so they can actually digest it. But they do tell the quieter person to come out more, to speak more, to engage more, to be more visible. As if wanting intervals means weakness. As if needing less noise means something is missing. But maybe nothing is missing. Maybe some people are just responding honestly to a dishonest pace. Maybe what gets called introversion sometimes is not a fixed identity at all. Maybe it's partly an unspoken protest against the noise. A step back from a world that has forgotten sequence, forgotten silence, forgotten that not everything needs to happen all the time. And to be fair, extremes can go bad on either side and be unhealthy. A person can disappear too far into withdrawal. A person can disappear too far into stimulation. Both can lose contact with the ancient rhythm. Here's what I mean by ancient rhythm. Not some old belief system, not some spiritual idea, just a more natural sequence of activation and completion, where quiet has a place and intensity has a place, motion has one, stillness and solitude and play has a place. Even yelling can have a place. Not even that long ago, I remember as a child just watching the raindrops dance on a window and being present with that. Now people turn to meditation and mindfulness apps just to retrain their minds to enjoy a simple moment and allow boredom to feel good. In today's culture, we fight off boredom like a disease and try to cure it with technology. In ancient times, boredom very well could have been the standard. I know it was for me not that long ago when I was a child, but we rarely called it boredom. We just called it presence without overstimulation. Things rose when they needed to and they settled when they were done. They didn't need to be managed as much because things weren't just stacked up on top of each other. Now the sequence is blurred. And when there's no real space between inputs, nothing integrates. You can feel that. You finish something, but it doesn't feel finished. You talk, but nothing lands. You rest, but your system never quite believes it's resting. You just scroll and listen and answer and watch and react. And the day passes without much of anything actually ever settling. Over time, that has a cost. Not always anxiety, not always obvious distress. Sometimes it's just low-level alertness, subtle restlessness, background friction. You start saying more than you need to, or taking in more than you can digest, or moving on before anything has actually had the time to become real. And then even words begin to thin out. Words that should have some weight. Words like sorry, words like love, words like hate. Words that are supposed to mark a threshold. They're just used too often. And then they don't become false, they just become light. Meaning doesn't always disappear because we lost it. Sometimes it thins because we overuse it. Because too much comes in, too much goes out, and too little gets the chance to settle. That's the difference between signal and noise. Signal simplifies and noise multiplies. Ancient rhythm had more signal to it. Not because life was easier, because things had a place. Modern life has more noise to it. Not because everything is bad, because too much is happening without completion. And then we call the strain personality, or weakness, or sensitivity, or being difficult. But a lot of the time, a person is just showing you what the environment is doing to them. That's why this doesn't feel mortal to me. It feels mechanical. Modern life is optimized. Optimized for speed, for output, for stimulation, for engagement, for visibility. Optimization looks good, but it's fragile. It works best when energy is high and conditions are right. Ancient rhythm wasn't optimized. It was robust. Quiet days would fit. Boring days would fit. High energy days would work. Low energy days would work. Nothing had to be corrected all the time. A robust life doesn't need you at your best all of the time. It has room for the whole range. A fragile life demands constant adjustment. And a lot of people are exhausted, not because they're weak, but because they're trying to live in a pace that has no real off-ramp. So this isn't really about becoming less social or more social. It's about remembering that intensity works better as a peak and not as the floor. Excitement matters, connection matters, expression matters. They just land differently when they're not constant. They mean more when they have edges. And maybe that's the part of what so many people are missing now. Not silence by itself, not rest by itself, not solitude. Rhythm. We're missing rhythm. A pause before the go, the notes that aren't being played. Like Miles Davis would say, it's not the notes you play, it's the notes you don't play. Because for a very long time, humans lived inside that thing, the space between notes, and I think some part of us still expects it. Some part of us still expects walking to feel different than talking, rest to feel different than stimulation, quiet to actually be quiet. And when that rhythm is missing, people don't always know how to name what's wrong. So they just name themselves instead. They say, maybe I'm an introvert or shy, or maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe something's wrong with me. Maybe. But maybe you're also a human being responding to a world that is pushed far past the rhythm we were built for. Maybe that's why stepping away feels good sometimes. Why silence can feel like medicine. Why a walk with no input just feels strangely complete. Because something in you finally got a hold of something it could recognize. That's the part that stands out to me. For thousands of years, life itself helped distribute intensity. There is room to move, space to just simply be. Now we mostly have to do that manually, and a lot of what we call personality may just be the shape that pressure takes inside different nervous systems that are always on guard or a little on edge. That doesn't mean introversion isn't real or extroversion isn't real. It means the world exaggerates both and then rewards one more visibly than the other, while quietly pushing almost everyone further and further away from the ancient rhythm. A rhythm where things had a place, a time, a completion. You'd sit, you'd lay, you'd hunt, you'd play. You'd walk, you'd yell, you'd enjoy the silence, and most of it didn't need a name. It just had a place in the day.